This week on Jersey Matters, primary day in New Jersey is Tuesday. We have all four Republican candidates vying to run against Governor Phil Murphy. Will children have to wear masks when they return to school in the fall? Parents and teachers are split on the issue. And the hiring crisis hits the Jersey Shore hard. Welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. There are four candidates in the Republican gubernatorial primary election, and with Election Day only a couple of days away, today we give equal time to them all. And we begin with former Assemblyman Jack Ciattarelli from Hillsborough. Assemblyman, thank you so much for taking the time today. I know you've been really busy. We're recording this on Thursday, and you were just at a rally in Trenton. And the rally is to stop the continuance of Governor Murphy's executive orders. He's willing to give up his emergency power, but only if the legislature makes some of his executive orders the law, passes it in a bill. What were you protesting exactly?
We want our democracy back, Larry. And what people are protesting, and when I say people, I mean people from all around New Jersey, every color, every creed, and all political stripes, Republican, Democrat, and unaffiliated independent voters. We want our democracy back. These are two very significant bills, and they did not go through committee, which means the public hasn't had a chance to participate in a public discussion about the worthiness of these bills. Even a leading Democrat this morning called out the governor and the leadership for fast tracking these bills.
Explain to people what the bills exactly would do.
So this would bring an end to the state of emergency. That's actually a good thing, but it would codify certain executive orders that have been made over the past 15 months. And those are decisions that were made unilaterally by the governor. By codifying them, they'd be written into law and would stick.
And does that still include Executive Order 175, where children would have to continue to wear masks until December, the end of December?
What's confusing is we don't know exactly what executive orders would be codified, and therein lies the controversy. Of course, the governor gave us whiplash this past week again, Larry. 2 weeks ago, he said kids will be wearing masks in September based on no science. And then this past week, based on the public outcry, he said, well, we're keeping an open mind. I mean, come on, Governor, stop with the whiplash.
Let's talk about the race a little bit. I think most observers thought you had this in the bag, and then all of a sudden polls showed that you had some competition, and you've put out, I'm sure you didn't want to spend the money, you've had to put out some negative ads against Hirsch Singh. What, in your opinion, happened?
Larry, if ever there was a time not to take anything for granted in politics, this is it. Fact is, we've been very, very successful in raising a lot of money, large and small donations from people in all 21 counties. And we're going to go after any opponent that's throwing stones. One particular opponent is a liar and a loser. And we decided to reveal who he is, not just because we're going to guarantee our win in the primary, but because we want to make clear that he's not really part of the Republican Party. He's not about New Jersey. He's not about Republicans. He's all about himself.
Let me give a theory as to what is happening. And I think that many, many times what happens in New Jersey is a bellwether for the rest of the country right before the midterm elections. And I think that we underestimated the power of Donald Trump, that he is almost a litmus test for Republicans. And I think that there are some Republican voters that don't think that you endorse Trump enough, and they believe that Hirsch Singh embraces Trump. What do you want to say to those voters?
What I say is you are entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to vote for whoever you'd like in the primary, but there's only one guy that can beat Phil Murphy, and that's Jack Ciattarelli. And the goal is to beat Phil Murphy. But know this, Larry, I am very, very confident based on all the hard work we've put in, and we'll sprint through the finish line. We're going to win the primary, and then all 1.4 million Republicans are going to come together on the one thing they all agree on. Phil Murphy shouldn't get a second term. And there are a great many Democrats and unaffiliated independent voters that feel the same way. And proof of that was the Monmouth University poll of 3 weeks ago.
The most recent polls that you've been seeing, have your ads attacking Hirsch Singh had an effect?
We are in great position to win the primary, so our entire campaign has been very successful. But again, I'm going to point to that Monmouth University poll of 3 weeks ago. Less than one half of New Jerseyans said they were voting for Phil Murphy in November. But that doesn't mean this is going to be easy. We need the right candidate, the right message, the right energy, the right team, and the right fundraising effort. Checkarelli for governor offers all that and more.
I want to bring up the debate you had at New Jersey 101.5 a week ago, because a lot was made of what happened backstage. It was, you were on, you didn't see any of this, but of course we've all seen the video of the campaign manager of Hirsch Singh going after your wife. When you heard about it, when you saw that, what was your reaction?
When I heard about it, I was very upset. But when I saw the video and the way that Melinda handled herself, defended me, and most especially the way she defended her 4 children, I was proud and, quite frankly, A-OK with the way that she handled it. She's a new rock star, Larry. A lot of people have asked me to make her the lieutenant governor, and some people have said they're writing her name in for governor in the primary. So she's my biggest worry.
Yeah, you don't want that. One last thing, and we're going to talk to all the candidates. I want to make sure that you get this. We're a couple of days away from the primary election, and I wanted to allow you to have one last pitch to the voters.
Well, listen, I'm somebody who's been here my whole life. The Checkarellis have been in New Jersey for 100 years, and I'm a 2-time successful business owner on Main Street. I've met the payroll. I've employed fellow New Jerseyans. I'm an MBA CPA. And I've also served at every level of government, term limited myself each time. So I know what local security, law enforcement, and potholes are all about. I know what infrastructure and social services are about. And after 6 years in Trenton, I know what waste, corruption, and inefficiency is all about. That's a very unique background. I've got some very specific ideas on how to fix New Jersey. And I don't think that Phil Murphy is in our best interest. This isn't a stepping stone for me. This is my last stop. I don't want to go to Washington. Quite frankly, I've already had the 3 best titles in the world: husband, father, and owner, CEO. So for me, as a proud New Jerseyan, this is all about setting a new direction for our state and making New Jersey a place where people feel confident. They can get started, live, work, start a business, and retire. That's what my goal is.
Thank you, sir. Good luck.
Thank you, Larry.
Republican gubernatorial candidate Jack Ciattarelli. Up next, we'll talk with the man who is giving Jack Ciattarelli a run for his money, Hirsch Singh. That's next. Welcome back. We'll keep reminding you, Tuesday is primary election day in New Jersey, and we're talking to all 4 Republican candidates for governor. Here's my interview with Atlantic City engineer Hirsch Singh. Sarah, thanks for spending some time with us today. And congratulations, by the way. I don't think anybody expected you to be doing this well. I think it's safe to say maybe you did, but I'm not sure that any political observers did. What do you credit your success so far to?
For the last couple of years, I've been at every major Second Amendment rally, every major medical freedom rally. I've been at every major Trump rally, vote rally. I've been with the activist community for the last 4 years, helping out local candidates. And, in general, when you're running statewide, it's very different than local office. I have a brand which is in alignment with President Trump. And in a lot of ways, what happened last year with the election of 2020, with so many doubts of its legitimacy in the Republican side, it made a lot of people look at everything else. And that included what happened in the primary last year. They said I had 148,000 votes last year in the primary for U.S. Senate. And the last 2017, when we had a governor's race, the winner had 113,000. So I already had the name ID that surpassed what was necessary to win the primary. If we had done a poll earlier, we would have found out that I was leading from the beginning, and the entire time Jack was just playing catch up in the shadows.
You forced Jack Ciattarelli to spend some money that he did not want to spend on an attack ad against you, saying that you're not as conservative as you claim you are, that you are not as pro-Trump as you claim you are. Do you want to respond to it?
I mean, he didn't put out one ad. He's put out maybe 15 ads, ranging from attacking the fact that I'm Indian American and our cultural values are that you take care of your parents when they get older. He's lied flagrantly. It shows his desperation that he's trying to compare someone who's been with President Trump and a lifelong Republican. He's trying to say that I'm a supporter of past Democrat presidents. When he attacks me and says that I'm being funded by Hillary supporters, they're literally talking about the Indian American community that has historically been more Democrat, though they're very conservative people. And it's because that community has been lied to with all the propaganda out there. And I'm bringing them to their natural home, which is the Republican and Conservative Party.
Has he specifically attacked you for being an Indian American? I missed that. I know that you talk about the fact that you take care of your parents, but he did say that you live in your parents' house. He says that a lot. And you're saying because he said that, that's somehow a racist slur? Is that it's calling you
think about it. Yeah, the Republican Party, conservative values are family values. And taking care of your family is a strong conservative thing that I think many communities across the state also adhere by. I mean, the Italian community is also known by having strong family ties. Same thing with the Chinese community, the Korean community, Hispanic community. I mean, these family values tend to be the bedrock of our conservative party. And yeah,
that doesn't mean, sir, with all due respect, that doesn't mean he's attacking your ethnicity.
No. But when he talks about the fact that I'm funded by Hillary donors, he's referring to the Indian American community, which is funding. That's specifically what he's talking about. There are no big bunglers for Hillary Clinton that are supporting me. There are no Barack Obama big time donors that are behind me. I'm a conservative. I'm a Republican. I'm the worst nightmare of the Democrat Party.
You mentioned the debate, the radio debate at 101.5, and your campaign manager especially has received a lot of criticism for what has been portrayed as a setup attack on Jack Ciattarelli's wife. The governor has called on you specifically to apologize. Others in the Republican Party have said that you should fire the campaign manager. What's your response?
I mean, there's really nothing to discuss about it. That video that they promoted, New Jersey Globe, which is run by Bridgegate David Wildstein, very disingenuous cut of that video. The original video shows very clearly that the concern here, which is being brought up, is voter integrity. Mrs. Ciattarelli basically called me a liar and said, I live at home with my parents and I don't pay property tax. That's what she said. And in that vein, Mr. Penna responded and stated that, well, when are your kids going to leave home? And she responded, oh, all my kids have left home. So he said, well, then why are they still registered to vote there? And that is a pretty clear statement. That triggered her because she realized that what she said a second earlier contradicted the official voter record. And that's what set her off. And she acted in a manner which, we all got to see. But here's the thing. I've always liked Mrs. Ciattarelli, and I've always liked and loved Mr. Ciattarelli's family. And I have nothing personal against it.
Well, while we're going to end this, the election's in just a couple of days. I'll give you the last word, whatever you want to say.
To the citizens of New Jersey, if you're looking for an opportunity to get New Jersey to go into a direction which removes this far left-wing taint, we have an opportunity on June 8th. Vote for Hirsch Singh to make New Jersey great again, to make New Jersey affordable again, and to bring back our conservative values to Trenton so that we can take control of the Assembly and State Senate. Thank you very much, Larry. It's always a pleasure to be with you, and looking forward to being on air with you again after we win this primary.
Republican candidate for governor, Hirsch Singh. We'll talk to the other two Republican candidates for governor, Phil Rizzo and Brian Levine, in just a few minutes. But up next on Jersey Matters.
The controversy continues. Should students be forced to wear masks in schools? We'll have more on that next, coming up on Jersey Matters.
A large crowd gathered in Trenton Thursday to protest a bill that would extend many of Governor Murphy's COVID-19 executive orders, including an order that children wear masks until December 30th of next year. The bill passed, but Governor Murphy says he is willing to reconsider the school mask mandate for the fall. Welcome back. This strange COVID school year is finally coming to an end, but parents, teachers, and administrators are already thinking about next year. Our Kimberly Kravitz spoke with administrators, teachers, and parents who are wondering if they can finally ditch the masks after this year. Kimberly.
Finally, after 15 months of masking up, New Jersey is able to move forward both indoors and outdoors without a face covering, unless you're a student. And by the looks of it, that mandate is not likely to change anytime before the new school year.
None of the schools want to hear us.
Frustrated parents have been marching around the state advocating for their children to be unmasked in schools.
My kids should not have to sacrifice air for an education.
And so right now what we're asking is for the school board members to be brave. We understand the answer to the governor. Ultimately, the decision comes from him.
Some argue that there is no evidence that the mask stops the spread of the virus.
I'm a nurse, and there's just no medical reasoning behind it. Masks are to protect you from getting blood spatters, inhaling dust. They do not protect against the virus.
You know, the hypocrisy is now where you can go anywhere but schools and prisons, ironically, and have to wear a mask. And if you keep your kids behind plexiglass, you mask them, you have police in schools, what is our school then? You know, it's a prison.
Governor Murphy argues that masks are needed because there are no authorized vaccines for children under 12, which is why some parents are more comfortable with their child wearing one.
I would prefer that he wore a mask to school and that his classmates did too, because they're too young to get vaccinated.
People are dying still in the COVID. So I prefer that, in my opinion, they have to get the mask.
They're reluctant to let these students go to school without wearing a mask. Do you agree with that?
I think so. I think, I have an experience. I had some family members, a family member that died from the virus.
But how did the children feel about wearing masks all day?
It gives me headaches. I get nausea. It makes me uncomfortable. I get sores. And also, it's just, like Mom said, they don't protect against viruses.
It feels like I can't breathe a lot. It feels sweaty in the mask because we go out to play, and then when you get in, the mask is all wet.
I'm too scared to ask if I could take it down.
And as one superintendent said here on Jersey Matters,
there's been studies about CO2 for the elementary school kids. The reason why kids would feel very sluggish after lunch wasn't because they had gym, is that there was an elevated CO2 in the classroom.
Governor Murphy says that students and staff will still be expected to wear masks in the fall. However, the governor said he is willing to give up his emergency powers, but only if a bill is passed that keeps the executive order in place, even if the public health emergency is declared over. Assemblyman Brian Bergen weighed in on this piece of legislature.
It's a pointless bill. So literally, the governor, this bill could get signed, it takes away some executive orders, but the governor the very next day could declare another public health emergency and take all those powers back that a governor has had so much unilateral authority for so long, and that there have not been three equal branches of government for the past year.
Some superintendents, such as Dr. Parla Panitas, have reached out to Governor Murphy, asking him to please end the mask mandate for students. And the governor's response is, we are only in June. How should we predict what should happen by September 5th? So for now, we will wait for the governor's next directive. Reporting from Ocean Township for Jersey Matters, I'm Kimberly Kravitz.
All right, thank you, Kimberly. Next on Jersey Matters.
Doctors at Hackensack University Medical Center are urging patients to come in for their annual wellness exams. They say in some cases it can help save their lives. More on that story next.
Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. The COVID-19 pandemic forced a lot of people to stay home for the duration and skip some scheduled medical checkups and screenings. Our Jennifer Marin spoke with one woman who almost skipped a checkup and is so glad she didn't. Jennifer.
A New Jersey woman in her 80s with a history of lung problems tells me fear of contracting COVID-19 almost kept her from discovering a tumor that could have claimed her life.
Go ahead and take in a deep breath.
Frances Wolf isn't a stranger to lung screenings, but an unusual test result during the COVID-19 pandemic left her uneasy.
Well, I get a CAT scan every year because I have polyps in my right lung. I've had them for years. So when she called me, I figured they grow, but this tumor is in my left lung, and it's sticking out and budding, almost budding the heart.
Dr. Nora Tasunian has been Frances's doctor for quite some time. She knows Frances has a history of smoking, so when she saw the troubling results, she wasted no time.
On a Friday night, I called her to let her know about the results and stress the importance of her pursuing the workup despite being in the middle of a pandemic.
But Frances, like so many people, was afraid.
Well, because of the COVID. Older, hadn't had any shots. Yeah, I was nervous with it, and if she didn't call me, I had no intention of going, to be perfectly honest with you.
Dr. Tasunian explained the extensive COVID-19 precautions being taken by Hackensack University Medical Center.
She said it's clean. She said nothing's 100%, but I'd say it's 99.9. And so I went. So very grateful to her. I think she's a wonderful doctor.
But not every patient has been as easy to convince. According to the National Cancer Institute, just over 15,000 patients were screened for cancer between March and June of 2020, a big difference from that same time in 2019, when over 60,000 patients were screened for cancer.
And this, unfortunately, for some patients has been a struggle because once they were more comfortable coming back into the office and getting their screening tests, a few of them were diagnosed with cancer or heart disease that were in the later stages.
Although doctors understand that some patients still feel more comfortable with virtual visits, they insist there's no replacement for an in-person wellness check.
There's a lot of time that's devoted to discussing their health maintenance and also taking into account their family history. It's a more holistic approach. Also, we screen for mental health disorders, and with the pandemic, we've seen an increased number of patients suffering from that.
As for Frances, Dr. Tasunian says the future is promising.
Right now, she has almost completed her therapy for lung cancer, and this has really markedly improved the quality of her life.
Frances hopes others will follow her lead.
They should go take care of it in case it is anything. May not be anything, but look at me. If I would have waited another year, God only knows what would happen.
Frances tells me she has an appointment in mid-June to find out if her tumor has shrunk, and she tells me she feels optimistic. For now, reporting in Lodi for Jersey Matters, I'm Jennifer Marin.
Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. Tuesday is primary election day in New Jersey, and today we are featuring all 4 Republican candidates for governor. Here's my interview with Hoboken Baptist minister Phil Rizzo. Sir, thanks for taking time for us today. I know it's busy. You were out campaigning. You were at the rally in Trenton. Tell me what happened.
Today we were out in Trenton fighting for New Jersey families. We really are dealing with the people versus the politicians. I am so surprised. Honestly, I know that there's conflict within politics right now. We're so polarized, but I'm actually surprised that we passed through the Assembly and also the Senate to give Phil Murphy more power. It's been amazing to try to live and experience New Jersey over the last 14 months. And as people have been asking for legislation to limit the governor's powers, the opposite just happened.
I just read something that I thought was fascinating. New Jersey 101.5 asked you what are the first 3 things you would do as governor. Would you repeat that? What are they?
Sure. I would lift all COVID restrictions 100% from the state level. We would have no more state lockdowns, no more mandatory anything in a COVID response. I would end sanctuary state policy, and I would immediately go to work on the budget. I would freeze spending, but more importantly, now that I have the proposed budget on my desk for 2022, it's set as a proposed budget of $47 billion. We just had a revenue year in 2020 of $40 billion. So where's that $7 billion coming from?
I want to talk a little politics, a little bit about the race, because it is fascinating to me. I would think that early on, most pundits would have thought Jack Ciattarelli is going to wrap this up. He has the money, he has all the endorsements, he has the top line in every county. And that hasn't been what happened. Hirsch Singh made a big run, and now you're making a big run at Hirsch Singh, according to the polls. Are you at all concerned, because I know you're a conservative, and I know Hirsch Singh is a conservative, that you're going to cancel each other out?
I guess that's possible, that we would cancel each other out. I am a proven conservative. At 44 years old, I am a husband. I'm a father of 4 teenagers. I own my own business. I'm part of our larger family real estate business. I've successfully started 2 conservative churches in deep blue Democratic Hudson County. I started a Christian school, and I have a life record that speaks for itself. Conservatives in New Jersey are going to have a very simple choice. And if they want a proven conservative, not somebody who's a proclaimed conservative, Rizzo is going to be the pick on June 8th.
You don't believe Hirsch Singh is really a conservative?
I'm not saying he's not a conservative. I'm saying he's a proclaimed conservative. Anybody could say anything. Anybody could say that they're pro-life. Anybody could say that they're pro-Second Amendment. Anybody could say they're for medical freedom. Anybody could say these things. But do we have any record? Do we have any proof that the things that come out of a person's mouth are true? I'm not saying he's not. I'm just saying he should prove it with some life accomplishments and some life records, not just what comes out of his mouth.
It seems that Trump has been a litmus test in this primary, and I think that's going to happen across the country next year in the midterm elections. Hirsch Singh has embraced Donald Trump. I know that you put out a picture of yourself with Donald Trump. Were you hoping for an endorsement? Were you seeking one? And why do you think that didn't happen?
I spoke with President Trump in an informal meeting. I was at Mar-a-Lago having dinner with my family. I saw him there. We had a quick conversation. We spoke only briefly, I'd say 10 minutes or less. I didn't ask him for the endorsement. Obviously, I would welcome it if he gave it to me. I think if President Trump endorses me, I win the primary. If he doesn't, though, we're going to continue to message New Jersey families. That's what I'm running on. I'm not running on party lines. I'm not running for red and blue. I'm running for New Jersey families.
We've talked to all 4 candidates, and I've ended each interview by giving them each, as I'm going to give you now, a chance for one last pitch to the voters.
Well, I'm a populist. I'm running for Democrats and Republicans. I'm a populist, but I'm not a moderate. I am unapologetically a right lane conservative. I'm pro-life. I'm pro-gun. I'm pro-police. I'm pro-Trump. I'm for medical freedom, small government, low taxes. You can make the list a mile long of what a conservative Republican looks like, and I check every box. But over the last decade, I've ministered to Democrats in Hudson County. I love Democrats. And the issues that I'm running on, the New Jersey family ABCs of family autonomy, business, and core values, are not red and blue. Democrats have children that have not been in school unmasked for 14 months, and their anxiety and their depression is skyrocketing. That's not red and blue. That's New Jersey families. And Democrats are entrepreneurs. They own small businesses, including restaurants, and their whole life work is getting crushed right now under Trenton policy. That's not red and blue. That's New Jersey families. That's what I'm running on. We're gaining bipartisan support throughout the state. I'm looking forward to June 8th, and I'm really looking forward to November 2nd.
All right. Thank you very much. Good luck to you, sir. Republican gubernatorial candidate Phil Rizzo. Up next, we talk with another Republican candidate, former Franklin Township Mayor Brian Levine. Next on Jersey Matters. Welcome back. We continue to talk to all 4 Republican candidates running for governor in Tuesday's primary election. Here now is former Franklin Township Mayor Brian Levine. Sir, thank you so much for spending time with us today. As we do when we interview a candidate for the first time, we give them the opportunity to tell the voters and our viewers a little bit about themselves. So go ahead.
Thanks, Larry. I'm really honored to be here. I truly am. So I have my degrees, a BA and an MBA from good old Rutgers, which shows I'm a Jersey guy. And I'm a CPA by profession, which is, I guess that's why I'm so concentrating on the finances when I've been mayor in Franklin Township, Somerset County, where I won 3 times in about a 3-to-1 Democratic town over Republicans, in a town of about 70,000, and then twice as a Somerset County freeholder, now called a county commissioner, and a freeholder director. And my concentration has always been fiscal because that's my background, but also for the people. The town I come from, it's very diverse. The minority population is larger than the state, and I've still been able to win there.
Thank you. Why did you get in this race? It seems like you may have gotten in a little late. Is that the case?
Yeah, a little bit, because it was this year and other people have been running for years. But after my time as freeholder, which ended the end of last year, I said, something's got to be done. I've known for years the state, in the best of times, is broke. And now, coming out of a bad time, a pandemic, the state's destitute, almost on life support. I've known this for years. So I'm the only one in this race who's had municipal executive experience, being a mayor, and corporate executive experience. I was director of financial planning for a Fortune 500 corporation where I did the budgeting and planning on almost $1 billion budget. I've delivered dozens of webinars and seminars on taxes and budgeting and accounting and finance. So what the state needs is something strong and to move to get us back in shape. And the ancillary things such as, why are lines wrapped around division of motor vehicles and people have to go crazy just to get a little bit done? It's just lack of planning. It's kicking the can down the road. And frankly, it's irresponsibility. And I'm the grown-up in the room who can get things done.
What do you see as the key issue? Like, what would you go after? Is it pension reform? Is it the school formula? Is it all of the above? And how would you handle it?
It would be first common sense budgeting, not kicking the can down the road, like the $30+ billion pension debt. That's ridiculous. That never should have happened in the first place. We have to tackle that. The school funding formula, definitely. And as far as specifics on the budgets, again, I've lectured on it. I've dealt with clients as a CPA. As mayor, I left with, I think we had the highest surplus in the state, just because it was strong. I would save for a rainy day, and I wouldn't squander all the money just because it was sitting in the bank account. And as a freeholder, we maintained our AAA bond rating. So other things, I would encourage school districts to consider sharing more services. And here's how. I think, frankly, we need more money in the classroom for teachers and for paraprofessionals. But New Jersey is virtually unique. In every town, Franklin, North Brunswick, Pennsauken, Cape May, Patterson, everyone's got a superintendent making $200,000. And they all have a whole bunch of people working with them, which adding up their salaries is millions of dollars. In other states, they do that by county or some kind of region. I think there's no reason for that continued duplication on the administrative level. I would like to take some of that money, again, put it in the classroom for our kids. There's no other model like that. I think it's because of New Jersey's home rule. So I would give an incentive for towns to start sharing that and boards of education.
Well, we're just about out of time, but I did want to give you an opportunity, since this is going to air the weekend before the election, to just speak to the voters and make one last pitch.
Okay. I've always been a New Jersey guy, born and bred here. My daughters are here. I have my business here. What I want to do is help the state. I've done that as a town, as mayor. as freeholder, as a businessman, as a corporate executive. I want to bring the fiscal sanity to the state. Things like, as I understand, some of the state's computers are running on Windows XP. I mean, everything is so put off. It's so not, it is so not being considered for the present. Everything is being kicked down the road to the next guy. And frankly, I hate the hypocrisy. I hate the irresponsibility. Again, when I was in charge as mayor, great fiscal process. I even had more affordable housing than we needed because we could do it because that was the right thing to do. I had residents who were hurting. And I wasn't a mayor who governed from on high. I would get out. I would speak to people when there was crime. I would speak to the victims firsthand. And when there was incidences, I said, I brought together myself as mayor, council, board of ed, the administration, the religious community, the activists, the police, and we would sit together and come up with solutions. That's me.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, sir. It was a pleasure to talk to you. Republican gubernatorial candidate Brian Levine. Up next.
I'm Phil Andrews, and coming up on Jersey Matters, we'll talk about a situation that might affect how you get served here at the Shore this summer.
I totally understand that you guys were not too thrilled with me last week when we last spoke. I had some tomatoes thrown at me by some. It's all right. I forgive you. I'm a nice guy. But this time I think you're going to be happy with what I have to tell you. We got some real summer weather arriving. In fact, our first heat wave of the season. I don't know if you like that stuff. Personally, I like to be comfortable. Anything but comfortable weather is coming our way. But yeah, 3 consecutive days or more at 90 degrees coming up our way. And the humidity is going to go sky high as well. So those dew points are going to be climbing into the 60s. And it's just going to be like a sauna. Very disgusting. And we're not alone, all right? This hot weather is going to continue all the way out to Chicago and Minneapolis, across the northern tier of the country, diving south into the Carolinas as well. Now, if you remember, we picked up 2 to 4 inches of rain over Memorial Day weekend. I mean, how could you not remember? Going forward, though, it looks like we are dry and devoid of any kind of major precipitation. Certainly no big storms coming our way. Lots of 90s, lots of hot weather, lots of beach weather. I'm meteorologist Nor'easter Nick for Jersey Matters.
Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. The economy nationally is coming back, but businesses are having a hard time getting employees to come back to work, and it's hitting the Jersey Shore especially hard right before the summer season, as Jersey Matters' Phil Andrews found out when he went to Wildwood. Phil.
Well, last weekend may have marked the unofficial start of summer here at the Jersey Shore, but there's a situation going on behind the scenes that just might affect how you get served here this summer. Now, you might not feel it here while playing miniature golf or just sitting on the beach. And for the most part, you probably won't feel it while taking a simple stroll on the boardwalk. But there is a workforce shortage going on here.
Right now, you'll see a lot of help wanted signs in restaurants, hotels, and various businesses, especially on the boardwalk or even in town. And everyone is looking for help in various capacities. So I believe that wait lines will be a little bit longer. Service might be a little bit slower. So everyone really needs to have patience.
I talked to a lady on the boardwalk who owns a babysitting business. Even her, I mean, it's a babysitting business, was having trouble. And she was telling me that, everything's sold out, like all the summer rentals are sold out. But the problem is going to be at night when you try to go to a restaurant to have dinner or something else, your service is going to be a little bit slower, right?
Well, I understand some of our guests over the Memorial Day weekend indicated that restaurants were 2 and 3 hours of wait time before they could be served.
Stephen Tecco is head of the Greater Wildwood Hotel and Motel Association and says the employment shortage here at the Shore is the worst he has ever seen, and blames part of the problem on those currently taking advantage of extended unemployment benefits.
With extended benefits and stimulus money, it doesn't pay for them. In some cases, we're hearing reports of people asking to be paid in cash so that they could continue with their checks as well as collect cash, or asking for unbelievable amounts of money. There was a restaurant in Cape May that was offering a $25 an hour opportunity for a dishwasher.
One place especially hit hard by the employment bug, Maury's peers, who have been providing amusement and entertainment here in Wildwood since the 1950s.
Yes, hiring has been a challenge this year, like unprecedented. Nothing I've experienced before.
Oh, well, I don't know. Maury's is a great place. I don't know who wouldn't want to work here. You get tons of stuff. It's a great place. Just look around.
I know you guys in the past have relied on people coming in from outside of the country, foreigners coming in to work for you for the summer, but with everything that's going on with COVID and the J-1 visas, how is that hampering the situation?
Yes, we use J-1 visa exchange students to supplement our domestic workforce, and this year there's a lot of visa processing delays at U.S. embassies overseas. So we're really only expecting to see about 5% of the numbers that we typically see in the summer.
And what would that number be?
Well, countrywide, that would be about 5,000 out of 100,000. So that's a big difference. Here, we're hoping to pick up 100, 150 or so.
By the way, the folks at Maury's also told me they were able to reach out to a New York-based talent agency and hire some Broadway and cruise ship industry types to help fill some of the employment void. But as they say, it's all hands on deck here at the Jersey Shore. In Wildwood, for Jersey Matters, I'm Phil Andrews.
I think Ocean Grove is the Maybury of the East Coast. It's the Victorian houses, just a general atmosphere here.
It's a combination of the sense of community and the spirituality that made this town. In my mind, there's very few of these towns left.
It's a Victorian atmosphere with absolutely lovely houses, and it has a beautiful, interesting downtown. It's virtually 2 blocks of restaurants and shops, and it's got, at the end of the street, the beautiful beach. So we pretty much have everything.
The tents make it unique. I send everyone over to look at the tents because they don't know what I'm talking about, and they think it's just amazing that these people actually live in them for an entire summer.
They are stripped down in the fall and then brought up to living quarters again in the summer. And the camp meeting also has the most beautiful auditorium. It's built almost like a boat, and it has the most amazing acoustics. It's different.
A nice downtown, a nice beach, and nice people.
The quaintness of it, the Victorian homes, the smallness of it, all of these things are unique, especially to New Jersey.
Come and see for yourself is the only thing I can say.
America is nearing 600,000 deaths due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It is a tragedy of historic proportions. It has cost the country so much already, but if you're an American taxpayer, it's about to cost you more. You're going to be paying the funeral costs for many of the people who died, up to $35,500 for funerals related to deaths caused by COVID-19. It's a new program implemented by the Biden administration that hasn't received a whole lot of attention, so you may not have heard about it yet. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, is handling the claims. So this all may be new to you, but a lot of people who want money from that program sure did hear about it quickly. On the very first day the program was announced, the FEMA call center received over 1 million phone calls asking, where do I get the money? How do I apply? That's 2 phone calls for every COVID death in America. If that sounds suspicious to you, You're not the only one that feels that way. Two Republican senators, Mike Braun from Indiana and Chuck Grassley from Iowa, wrote a letter to the Biden administration saying they had concerns that the program would be rampant with fraud, and they wanted legislative oversight over the guidelines. Fraud is not only possible, it is likely, especially if recent past is prologue. States have lost billions this year on fraudulent unemployment claims. California alone lost $11 billion, and they're still auditing, but they did find that over 200,000 claims were made from computers overseas. And here's why you should consider the federal funeral reimbursement program ripe for the same kind of fraud. You can read the FEMA guidelines online for yourself. It requires that people applying have a death certificate that states the person died from COVID-19, likely died from COVID-19, may have died from COVID-19, or that the person had COVID-like symptoms when they died. And if the death certificate doesn't say anything of the sort, that's okay. You may still get your money. FEMA has a Q&A section about the funeral reimbursements, and on it, it gives a tutorial on how you can get the death certificate changed to say what you need it to say. Oh, and the original death certificate is not required, just a photograph or a copy, or some facsimile. Is it just me, or does it seem like the Biden administration is almost encouraging fraudulent claims? Oh, and one other thing. It doesn't matter if the deceased is a U.S. citizen. If they just crossed the border and died and you paid for the funeral, you can get reimbursed. Now, FEMA has put up a fraud alert on its website, but not for anything we're talking about. It seems that people are being contacted in their homes and they're being asked for money to help get a FEMA funeral reimbursement. So if you get an email or a phone call like that, ignore it. It's a scam. And trust me, you don't need any help getting money from the Biden administration. It sure does seem that the Biden administration is intent in using creative ways to dole as much money as possible to American households in the name of COVID-19. But none of this is free. We're footing the bill for all of it. So can they at least pay some respect to the American taxpayer and make certain the money is going to the right people, going to the people who need it? Because right now, it sure does seem like nobody's keeping track of that money or the final bill we'll have to pay. I'm Larry Menti. We'll talk again soon.